pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic and nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has joined the meeting.
Okay, as we get going here, make sure you mute your phones, and that way we won't have the background noise. And at this time, I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Supervisor Steele.
Present.
Supervisor Sikorsky.
Present.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Here.
Supervisor McMiniman.
Present.
Supervisor Thornton. Supervisor Hauser.
Here.
Supervisor Hunt.
Has left the meeting.
Mr. Chair is here.
Here.
Supervisor Michelson.
Present.
Supervisor Shipman.
Present.
Supervisor Curvina. Supervisor Eisenhuth. Supervisor Ives.
Present.
Supervisor Hunt. Supervisor Hull.
Present.
Supervisor McGill.
Present.
I'm showing 11 currently here.
Supervisor Hunt.
Has joined the meeting.
Supervisor Hunt is back on.
Okay.
So 12.
We have 12 members. We do have a quorum, and so we will move forward in the agenda then, and I will look for a motion to approve the agenda.
Supervisor McMiniman makes that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Hall, second.
Okay. Supervisor Sikorsky just beat you to it, Supervisor Hall. Okay, thank you. Members of the public wishing to be heard, are there any members? Oh, excuse me. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Agenda.
with half our people present here, I got to go back to the roll call because we still have half out there. So we will do a roll call. It's not quite that easy yet.
Not yet.
For the ayes.
Supervisor McMiniman.
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser.
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson.
Aye.
Supervisor Shipman.
Aye.
Supervisor Ives.
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt.
Aye.
Supervisor Hull.
Aye.
Supervisor McGill.
Aye.
Supervisor Steele.
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky.
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Aye.
Mr. Chair.
Aye.
12 ayes.
Okay, members of the public wishing to be heard, at this time, if there's any members of the public wishing to be heard, can you identify yourself? And if there's more than one, then we'll set you in order and you'll each have 5 minutes. Any members of the public wishing to be heard? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to business items. And we have business item 13-21, and I will have the clerk read the resolution.
Resolution number 13-21, resolution to adopt the 2021 to 2035 Chippewa County Forest Comprehensive Land Use Plan. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors does hereby approve the 2021 to 2035 Chippewa County Forest Comprehensive Land Use Plan and directs the county forest administrator and public liaison to forward an official copy of the plan to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources for approval, forwarded to the county board by the Land Conservation and Forest Management Committee.
Okay, at this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Supervisor Michaels to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Okay, at this time, then, Mr. Masterpole, will you introduce your people?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce Matt Hansen. Matt Hansen is our County Forest Administrator and Public Liaison. He's been responsible for the public participation process and for the plan development. As the County Forest Administrator and Public Liaison, he'll be responsible in working with the County Forest Committee, which is the County Land Conservation and Forest Management Committee, and the County Board as this plan is implemented. So I'd just like to introduce Matt and turn it over to him. I think he's got a PowerPoint, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Dan said, I'm Matt Hansen. I've been with Chippewa County for about 7 years, 6 years as the Assistant Forest Administrator, and the last year as the Administrator. The plan development started before I got here, before I took my current role, and we jumped in, restarted the process, and got the plan out. We've had this series of updates as the plan has gone along, and the DNR asked for some requests, but that's all included in my slide. So if we can skip to the next slide, Jackie. So Wisconsin State Statutes Chapter 2811 is what governs the management of the county forest and requires a 15-year period plan approved by the county board and the department. The plan basically covers everything forest-related: forest protection, annual allowable timber harvest, recreational developments, fish and wildlife management activities, on and on, roads, everything pretty much that you can think about if you're managing a county forest. Can you go to the next slide? So the plan process that was developed was one to have some stakeholder input, get opinion from the public interests who use the forest and have an interest in its management. This committee, the Land Conservation and Forest Management Committee, formed a public stakeholder advisory group. The group provided structured feedback on 3 focus areas. We developed questions regarding management of the county forest and sought input of this user group and other stakeholders. The first topic we addressed was access and recreation. Second was ecologically significant areas, soil, water, fish and wildlife management. Third area was silviculture and forest administration. Guided by these stakeholder responses, the committee reviewed draft versions and approved policy changes as the plan was drafted. So then, once we had a draft ready to go out to the public for review, we held a public review process. Even in the beginning of the plan, to alert the public the plan was plan update process and invite public participation, we provided public notice in the newspapers just to let people know that we were entering the process. Then to provide access to the public while we were going through the process, the county website contained the planning process, all the supporting documents we were using to create the plan, and drafts of the plan as they were approved and created. To provide the public with an opportunity to review and provide feedback, we had an open house, a public hearing, and a 30-day comment period, which is required by state statute in order when you're writing these plans. They were conducted in order to further incorporate public opinion into the plan drafts. So, approval of the draft plans that we've created. The committee reviewed all public testimony and written responses received during the 30-day comment period. The committee approved a draft for submission to the DNR, Natural Resources, for their review. The DNR sent it back with some edits, which were incorporated into the plan and reviewed by the committee. That plan is currently on the website so that the committee members could compare the two. That draft was approved for submission to the county board on 2/10/21. My objective when writing this plan was to maintain basically a status quo policy directed to do otherwise. But there were, as there is, anytime you update a plan only every 15 years, some things that needed to be updated. The significant policy changes that we've reviewed and discussed in the committee are outlined here. Contract extensions. We went from table, which had different periods of adjustment and rates of adjustment, to a simple kind of flat rate policy. The contract extensions are 10% and for 1 year. You can get a 0% 6-month extension only if you've actively harvested on the site. That's to grant guys who've moved in and worked the site the opportunity to finish jobs that they have been working on. There's been increased vehicular access on secondary roads to lakes and under frozen ground conditions. The tree stand policy was adjusted to mirror the state and U.S. Forest Service, allowing overnight placement of stands north of Highway 64. We used to require daily removal. Now, in order to mirror the state policy and create some consistency across public lands, which is always pretty much a good goal, we're pretty much adopting the state policy. Equestrian trails were requested to be closed when the ground is snow covered to reduce user conflicts between different user groups. Also, high conservation value forests were defined as state natural areas to mirror the state policy and how the state defines their high conservation value forests. So the plan update process and final approval, the county board must approve the plan before it can be submitted to the DNR again for final approval. They just take a final look at it and make sure that no drastic changes were made before the draft that was sent to them before and the current draft. The current plan will be available on the county website as the previous plan had been. That's pretty much how most officials even interact with the plan these days. It's easiest to just click a link on a website and get exactly what you need. Annual work plans and annual work reports, which are approved by the county board, will be posted on the county website as amendments to the 15-year plan. They basically slide into chapter 2000 as sort of annual updates. Any questions from anybody about policy changes, the plan in general?
Supervisor Hauser.
This comes from a constituent who was specifically talking about the Tealy Creek access. And just so I have it clear, I'm not looking for any changes here. If things deteriorate and we find that access is creating a problem, it's written into the draft that we have the right to revise that. Is that an accurate assessment there?
I would say the committee has quite a bit of leeway to deal with problem issues and restricting access if there are problems, yeah.
And that access on frozen ground is probably going to increase the snowmobile traffic. Is that probably the key difference? All of our secondary roads are technically open to snowmobile traffic, so it doesn't really increase snowmobile traffic. It allows vehicular access, so ATVs and trucks. So snowmobiles could have been on it regardless?
They have been on it, yep. They've been allowed. Yep.
That'll answer the question that person asked of me. Thank you.
All of our secondary roads are open to snowmobile traffic. You don't have the concerns with erosion and damaged vegetation usually with a snowmobile that you would with, say, an ATV or a truck just gunning through the woods.
So it's being designated as a game trail
Is that what's changed from a game trail to a secondary road? Or has it always been a secondary road?
That comes to nomenclature. It's always been a secondary road.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Hanson?
Supervisor Hunt.
Go ahead, Supervisor Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question also has to do with the Teely Creek loop access there. From what I heard from Supervisor Hauser's question, am I to understand now that previously in the 15-year plan, there was not vehicular vehicle trucks access to that loop previously, and now that will be allowed during winter conditions?
That's correct. Probably 5 years ago, if my memory serves me correct, the county opened up some roads in the town of Ruby for increased access under frozen ground conditions. And this is essentially an expansion of that policy of allowing vehicular access under frozen ground conditions.
Okay, and now is the Teely Creek loop, is that maintained by the Hickory Ridge Trail Association or during the winter months too for skiers and folks of that nature?
No, most of our non-motorized recreational trails are between Hickory Ridge, O'Neill, and the Deerfly. So kind of in the southwestern part of the forest. The area that we're talking about in the Birch Creek unit is the northwestern part. It's up more near the county line. So there is no overlap there.
All right. I just wanted to make sure from a safety perspective that we didn't have trucks that were going to run into skiers and things. So
all the uses will be motorized unless there's people out there hiking or skiing, which you can do anywhere in the forest.
Any other questions? Mr. Hauser.
It's not a question as a comment. I think Matt's done a really good job of managing all of the different users of the forest. And just through that whole process, I would commend them for balancing the needs of all these different constituencies. Appreciate that.
A lot of that goes to my predecessor and the users themselves. They've spent a lot of time learning on how to get along with each other, and they do a really good job of working problems out before they become mine.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will have the clerk call the vote.
Supervisor Sikorsky?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman?
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser?
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson?
Aye.
Supervisor Shipman?
Aye.
Supervisor Ives?
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt?
Aye.
Supervisor Hall?
Aye.
Supervisor McGill?
Aye.
Supervisor Steele?
Aye.
Mr. Chair?
Aye.
12 ayes. 12.
Well, that's nice.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it passes 12 to those who aren't here, 12 to 1? 12-0. 12-0, excuse me. So I can't help but echo Mr. Hauser's words. Matt Hanson has done a superb job on a plan that is extremely timely and difficult to put together and organize. Thank you. We will then move on to agenda items for future consideration. Okay. I will seek a motion to adjourn.
Supervisor Shipman, motion to adjourn.
Okay. Is there a second?
Supervisor Hall, second.
And we will have the clerk do the,
Supervisor Shipman,
Aye.
Supervisor Ives,
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt,
Aye.
Supervisor Hull,
Aye.
Supervisor McGill,
Aye.
Supervisor Steele,
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky,
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt,
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman,
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser,
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson,
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
aye.
that's all 12.
Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Supervisor Ives
Has left the meeting.